Let me bring in, for more analysis on this and what this means for the technology companies, I want to bring in Standard & Poor's Head of Technology Sector Equity Research, Scott Kessler. And Scott, I mean, what do you mean? I mean, obviously back to school is just one component, obviously, of the sales that go on, for these computer makers. But how important is that for these, for these computer makers, for these companies?
Well, Betty, a number of years ago, back to school was actually really critical for the PC-oriented companies, not just the manufacturers, but the folks responsible for related software and accessories as well. Over time, however, what's happened is essentially people buy computers and related offerings year-round. There really isn't a seasonality bump associated with back to school. Arguably, the best kind of cyclical driver for consumption is actually the holiday shopping season. Back to school really isn't that impactful for these companies at this point.
Scott, Scott, I just wanted to say, a lot of these companies, these technology companies, well, not even just technology companies, but a lot of these retailers in general, are shifting their sales online. Are you seeing that a lot with these technology companies? Retailers are spending a lot more CapEx on trying to drive sales online. How is that sort of playing out for these technology companies?
Well, there's no question that this has been something that that retailers and even manufacturers themselves have been investing in and cultivating. That is an online presence where they can connect directly with would-be and actual customers. What's really important is that there are reasons why I think these folks want people to come directly to their websites, whether they're captive, whether they can get more information about them, whether they can personalize offerings, or whether it's just an easier relationship. So absolutely, that investment in the online channel continues and has been, I think, pretty beneficial for almost everyone across the ecosystem who has done it correctly.
I want to bring up this chart that we have that relates to the tablet makers. Do we have that chart? It basically shows that for American consumers, Scott, they're going to eventually pay more for an iPad than they are going to for a big screen television set. It makes you wonder, whether Sony or Samsung or any of these other TV makers are going to want to keep making television sets if eventually it's going to cost less. They're going to not make any money on it. It's going to cost less than buying an iPad.
It's an interesting observation. Betty, what I would say is, look, if you think about one thing about technology that's remained kind of a constant for the most part, it's that if you wait a couple of months or a couple of quarters, you'll probably be able to get a better product for less money. What's really the one exception to that over time? It's been Apple and all of their products, because they've been able to sustain pricing because of the tremendous cachet that the products have, as well as the additional, arguably, value that they include in every new iteration. So Apple is kind of special in that respect. In terms of big screen televisions, I think a lot of people perceive them as a commoditized product to a large extent, and the key for manufacturers is to bring those costs down lower and lower and lower so they can sell more on a volume basis.
Right, and they can actually make money on that then. Scott, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Standard & Poor's Head of Technology Equity Research, Scott Kessler.